Born Bogota, Colombia, lives Monte Carlo, Monaco. Gordon is a 4-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion and the only man to win the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway 3 times. Montoya won the kart champ car title in his rookie year and is one of only 2 men to win both the Indianapolis 500 and the Monaco Grand Prix. Today, these 2 champions, each so closely identified with his own form of motorsport, return to the site of one of each man's greatest triumphs to do something unprecedented. They will be trading paint at Indy. Each year, the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway hosts 3 of the biggest motorsports events of the year. Today, it welcomes the ultimate motorsports busman's holiday as Jeff Gordon and Juan Pablo Montoya do a little trading paint. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha. You know, for most of the 100 years or so that people have raced automobiles, the driver's job was simple. See the car, race the car, any kind of car. And each year, names like Fangio, Clark, Hill, Gurney, Foyt, or Andretti might win several of the biggest races in the world in different kinds of racing cars. But in recent years, heavy sponsor commitments and big schedules meant that there was a lot of specialization going on. And that's what makes what we're about to see today so much fun. 2 men, Jeff Gordon and Juan Pablo Montoya, each at the top of his game, getting into a completely unfamiliar race car to see if he can live by the 7-word motto of the racing driver, "Let me see what I can do." Right now, let's get down and do a little tail of the tape and see the race cars up close with 2 of our favorite Speed Channel analysts. From NASCAR, Larry McReynolds, and from Formula One, Steve Matchett.
Well, thanks, Bob. Well, Steve, I'll tell you about this NASCAR Winston Cup stock car, just a few elements about it. First of all, it resembles a stock automobile, weighs 3,400 pounds, and that's without the driver. Underneath the hood is basically a stock engine, 8 cylinders with a naturally aspirated carburetor, no fuel injection, makes about 850 horsepower. RPM-wise, we're going to be turning about 9,000. Anything over 9,000 makes our motor man pretty nervous. Now, the transmission in the car, it's a 4-speed transmission with somewhat of a conventional clutch. Driver has to use the clutch, and look, it has a shift lever about like your old 65, 66 Chevelle. Wow. Back in the back, it holds 22 gallons of fuel, and it's full of fuel. The motor's running unrestricted 9,000 RPMs. We get about 4.5, maybe 5 miles to the gallon. Now, talk about downforce with the fenders pulled all the way out, rear spoiler maxed out. Total, we make about 1,600 pounds of downforce. And the thing about it, race-ready engine car, about $150,000. Tell me about your piece over here.
Awesome. Larry, what we're looking at here is the Williams, the FW24 chassis. This is last year's Williams chassis. It won 1 race in Malaysia, but basically a very good chassis. It was there or thereabouts all year long. We're looking at a 3-litre V10. Now, your engine, pretty low revving in comparison to this one, Larry. This fella under the bodywork here, 19,000 RPM, 900 horsepower. Wow. It's a terrific machine. You can see, we're showing now the wheel. You see the paddle lever there and everything. So no gear shift like we're seeing the Cup car right over there. Carbon fiber suspension. This is going to be an awesomely fast piece, and I think it's going to be a great day, the comparison between these 2. Larry?
Bob, there you have it. That's the 2 cars that Jeff and Juan's going to be driving today. It's going to be interesting.
All right, thanks, guys. As you see, Juan Pablo Montoya will be first up in Jeff Gordon's DuPont Chevy. Let's meet Gordon now, standing by with Ralph Shaheen.
All right, Bob, thanks. And, Jeff, you were just saying you're a little nervous. Is that because you're getting in the Williams or because Juan just got in your Cup car?
It's because he just got out of his Formula One Williams car and he just got in the stock car. I mean, the 2 are going to be so drastically different. From me getting into his car and him getting into my car, it's just totally different sides of the world as far as, you know, the technology and the grip and the acceleration. But he's excited, and he looks like he's ready to have some fun, and I can't wait to get behind the wheel of his car.
What kind of warnings did you give him? What did you tell him to expect?
You know, we talked about braking zones. I mean, he's braking at the 50 meter. I said, you know, maybe 250, 300 meter with this thing. And, you know, we'd never been to this track before, and it's really flat, and there's actually not a lot of grip for our cars. We like banking, but the car you can play around with it pretty good. But I think the biggest thing is just not to overdrive it, you know, in the corners. You know, you can get yourself a little bit of trouble there. And then, you know, the shifting is just, he's got 4 speeds, and it's such a delay in between brakes, downshift, downshift, where his cars just break downshift as many as you can get, you know?
And Bob, think about this. He's only been around an F1 car for a few minutes now. He's already talking in meters instead of yards and feet.
Today is all about fun. Thanks, Ralph. As you see, Juan Pablo Montoya now on track. We're live, and we're going to try to move the schedule along a little bit because, frankly, we have a fairly iffy weather forecast, and we want to make sure we get both men on track, Larry.
Sure, weather's iffy. NASCAR's in town, of course.
Go figure. Now, there you see Montoya, and fellas, it must be said, Jeff just pointed out that it's a huge difference getting into that Formula One car. 5.7-liter V8, 4 on the floor. Not an unusual situation, I would think, for this man, Juan Pablo Montoya. But for Jeff Gordon to get into that Formula One car is going to be like getting into an F-16 fighter, I would think.
Well, it is, and I was talking to Jeff this morning, and he says, you know, not to take anything away from the car that he makes his living in, but he says going from a Winston Cup car to a Formula One car would be like going from a go-kart to a Winston Cup car. There's that much difference. And, you know, I think both drivers are certainly going to adapt well, Steve, but I think the biggest thing, Juan will not be able to drive this car right here, this 3,400-pound stock car, near like he can drive that Formula One car.
No, for sure not. The big difference is, as I was looking around the car with you this morning, Larry, around the Cup car, it looks like it should do. It looks like a stock car, but the difference when you look at a Formula One car, to me, they're still fabulously quick machines, but it looks like you're getting into a fighter jet with all those controls on it. So Jeff's going to have his work cut out just with the differences. Remember, there's no clutch pedal in the Williams. All the gear paddles for the gear change are on the steering wheel. So the difference between these two cars is a tremendous contrast. But at least this car looks familiar.
Now, each driver is going to take 3 warm-up laps, then 3 hot laps in each car. Juan Pablo Montoya is doing his warm-up laps right now. Let's ride along with him.
Well, Larry, we were talking about horsepower earlier on and the comparison between the two, and I was amazed at the amount of horsepower that these beasts are pushing out. I was saying, you know, that the P82 Williams, the V10, is pushing about 900 horsepower at 19,000. But you guys, you're not far off that, right? The revs are different, but what about the horsepower?
And yeah, with a lot with stock configuration, Steve, you know, and it just comes from technology. You know, NASCAR mandates the weight of some of the parts within the engine. The lighter the parts, the more RPMs you could turn, the more power it's going to make.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. It wasn't that many years ago. If you was making 500 horsepower one of these engines, you were doing good. And now these guys are making well in excess of 800 horsepower. And I talked to Jeff Gordon about shifting around this road course, and like he mentioned, the stock cars, the NASCAR cars have never run on this road course before, but they've got it designed to where you're shifting about 9 times per lap to maximize the RPMs on every straightaway.
Jeff Gordon and his crew chief Robbie Loomis are going to be keeping their fingers crossed as Juan Pablo Montoya makes his way around. This is the actual chassis with which Jeff Gordon has won 6 NASCAR Winston Cup road races at Watkins Glen and Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, California.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Jeff has a phenomenal record on the road courses between Watkins Glen and Infineon. 20 starts, 7 wins, and you mentioned of those 7 wins, 6 of them has been in his car, 4 poles, 14 top 10 finishes in 20 races. He's always been pretty outstanding on the road courses.
Larry, how much work would you do during the weekend to fine-tune these cars into this circuit now? Say, for example, you were going into a qualifying session preparing for the race. How much do they change from what you arrive with from the factory to what you see on the grid prior to the start of the race on the Sunday and Saturday?
Well, when we arrive, most of our shows are 3-day shows. We practice for 2 hours getting ready to qualify on Friday. Then we get an hour and a half, 2 45-minute sessions on Saturday, and then you pretty much get ready to race. But what most teams will do if you don't get to go test at the racetrack is you'll show up with basically what you had the year before, or with changes you think that's necessary. Now, sometimes Goodyear, and I think y'all run the Michelin tire on the Formula One car, if I'm mistaken.
On this particular chassis, we will do, yeah. There is a tire war between Bridgestone and Michelin in F1, but Williams are signed up to Michelin.
But we run the Goodyear radial tire, and the only changes we will make sometimes is based on what a change that Goodyear will make in the tire. And then, of course, this year, and this is a 2002 chassis body like Bob mentioned, we have the new body this year that all the makes are running, the common body or aero equal body. Changes are made because certainly that body has more downforce front and rear than the old body.
Right.
Now we saw a little lockup. Montoya obviously getting after it. Let's go down to the garage area. Ralph Shaheen is standing by with Jeff Gordon. Let's see what he thinks of what Juan Pablo's doing.
Well, we're sitting down here and having a lot of fun talking about it. And you say his line's pretty good, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's being real smooth, which, I mean, come on. He's a Formula One road course driver. He's doing great. Everything looks good. I don't know what kind of times he's running yet, but it looks like he's having fun. He's enjoying. He hasn't pulled in yet, so I think that's a good sign.
And it didn't seem like it took him too long to get up to speed either. Were you surprised by that?
No, not at all. You know, I mean, he's an experienced race car driver, and you know, I think that you have to take it to a certain speed just to really get a good feel for it. But he knows this track better than I know it, and you know, after getting your braking areas, and he overshot turn 1. So now he knows how deep he can go into turn 1.
So does that take a little heat off of you now that he made a boo-boo?
Well, I almost did the same thing in that car earlier, so it has quite a bit of front brake to it just to be safe. But I cranked a little bit more rear to it just to make sure that you know, he could get in there nice and deep.
When I was watching you this morning warming up out here, you were really sliding coming through what would be turn 1 going the other way for the Indy 500. It is a little bit not normal for this car at this racetrack.
Well, believe it or not, that's a fast corner right there. You know, for especially for a road course car. But you know, I think that we thought we'd be more flat out through there, but you're really not. It's nice to have the banking, obviously an area you can get some speed, but you can't go wide open. The cars are set up to turn right, but mainly as tight as the inside of the course is, the outside is pretty you know, sweeping, and so the car is a little bit loose through those sweeping faster right-handers, but it handles great for the inside of the track.
You know, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I can honestly tell you, Frank, you're geeking. How wired are you for getting inside this car?
I've got to say, this is probably the coolest experience I've ever had, and I haven't even gotten in the car yet. You know, just the fact to be able to do this in Indianapolis, you know, to know I'm going to get behind the wheel of a Formula One car, you know, to get Juan behind the wheel of my car. This is awesome, man. It's just getting in that car, and they fired it up. And I did what they do, a box test or box check or something like that, where we actually put it in gear, release the clutch, which is on the steering wheel, and I go up through the gears, down through the gears. I did that twice. I was like, man, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So I know there's a lot of people that are envious of me right now, and I'm on top of the world. This is great.
Yeah, I had a feeling when Jeff goes on to Michigan this weekend for the Winston Cup race, I imagine a few guys are going to want to come by and say, well, what was that like, driving a Formula One car?
He will be a very popular item, trust me, regardless of how he performs at Michigan.
We'll take a break and return live to Indianapolis Motor Speedway at Tradin Paint.
You want to know why I ran from Enterprise? Because having the right car can make all the difference.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
If you don't use fuel, you clear your head. If you've never had a Sunday ride, extend through Tuesday. If the only thing that wanders is your mind, get out of the way. The all-new Suzuki SV1000S.
Say, could you toss me those Autolite double platinum plugs?
Wow, Darryl Waltrip, you're a legend.
You know this grease monkey?
He's a famous cornflakes model.
Well, I also know a thing or two about racing.
Like what?
Well, like these high-performing Autolite plugs are the official spark plug of NASCAR.
Oh, well, not die. It says that right on the box.
Autolite, it's time to change your plugs.
Jim Brewer here. Gonna show you how the new Right Guard Extreme Power Caps work. Power Caps are little balls of extra odor fighters. Let's say these guys represent odor, and the balls my friend Randy Johnson has here represent the Power Caps. Power Caps destroy odors on contact. Get extreme, get Right Guard. You do not want to be odor right now. Oh!
For dry, red eyes, Clear Eyes is awesome. It removes redness and has an ingredient to moisturize. Wow. The difference is clear. Clear Eyes.
Speed Channel's coverage of Gordon, Montoya, Tradin Paint is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Welcome back to Speed Channel's coverage of Trading Paint with Juan Pablo Montoya and Jeff Gordon. And Juan has just completed his first stint in the car, and he's debriefing here with Robbie Loomis, Jeff Gordon's crew chief. What'd you think, Juan?
I think it was pretty interesting. It was a lot of fun. It's completely different from anything I drove before, and it's really exciting. You got to give it a lot more time. The car, it's a lot more. The F1 is very fast, very reactive. With this, it's a lot more alive. It moves around. It doesn't really forgive you as much. It's good fun.
Were you surprised by the performance of the car?
The engine, it really surprised me. It's got in low speed, it's not that much slower than an F1. In slow speed corners where the F1 seems to struggle with the groove tires, but in high speed, it's a big difference. I come into this straight, and in the F1 it's all flat, no problem. With this, you're like, ooh, and the wheel is just moving all around the corner. It's pretty exciting.
Now we saw you straight line at the far end here going into turn one. What happened?
I braked pretty late, went hard on the brakes, went down to third gear, went a full second. I think I pulled it too early and just locked the rear tires.
There it is up on the monitor.
And the rear just was bouncing all the way off.
So now you're going to get a chance to go back out. Are you going to ask him to make any changes to the car?
He asked me what the car was doing. I told him a little bit what I felt, and he's going to try to improve it a little bit.
And what do you want to accomplish now when you go back the second time? What are you going to try to do differently?
I just enjoy myself. It's just so much fun.
And Bob, you know what? Robbie Loomis was over here taking down every piece of data he's got on his sheet down here, and I'm not so sure. Robbie, does this count against a NASCAR test?
Oh, no, this isn't a NASCAR test. We don't run the road course. We'll have to talk to Juan about the inside road course. Just like I said, he did a great job with the car. His comments very similar to Jeff on the right-handers. The car was a little bit loose. We're going to try to tighten the car up and, like I said, have some fun with it. We're going to watch Jeff in his now and see if Juan gives him little instructions on what to do out there.
Should be a lot of fun, Bob.
Hey, Ralph, has Robbie Loomis figured out the difference between understeer and oversteer yet?
Well, let's see. We could ask him. Hey, Robbie, Larry Mack wanted to know, did he figure out the difference between oversteer and understeer yet?
Yeah, he's locked. When he's got lock, we're loose right now.
There you go.
That must be what the whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you could see in Juan Pablo's face and hear it in his voice. He is having a great time, and he was impressed by that race car, Larry.
Yes, he was. And, again, you heard Jeff Gordon talking about these things have two master cylinders on, one that controls the front brakes and one that controls the rear. Normally, the road course, what you'll do is you'll screw just as much rear brake as you can into it, and that way the car will turn under braking, getting in a corner. But what will happen, you heard Juan talk about it, on the brake, turning and downshifting, you'll get the rear wheels to hopping.
That's exactly what we saw there, right? So, yeah, I talking about just in the brake bias, you use exactly the same principle on Cup cars as we do in Formula One cars. The notched cable, you wind it front to rear to adjust the brake bias front to rear, exactly the same. We don't use any trick electronics to do that in Formula One. The FIA have absolutely outlawed it. So something common between the two formula there.
You mentioned electronics around NASCAR. They tend to get very nervous.
Well, as you can see, they're going to crunch the numbers. Jeff Gordon is going to take over Juan Pablo Montoya's Formula One Williams BMW, and we'll be back live to the capital of the racing world.
Motorcycle financing can have a funny way of changing on you when you don't expect it. So keep your eyes open and get a straight deal that doesn't change with financing that's as solid as a Honda. Zero down payment, zero payments for the first 3 months, and lock in a low 6.9% fixed APR for up to 5 years on any new Honda motorcycle, scooter, personal watercraft, or ATV. Monthly payments that don't change. That's a straight deal. And right now, get up to $300 in bonus bucks on select models at your local Honda dealer today.
Mario and Richard Pett, AJ4, Dale Earnhardt, who will join the list of legends and be named the 2003 Driver of the Year. Now you, the fan, along with the distinguished media panel, will decide which driver in American motorsports deserves this prestigious honor.
That is motor racing.
Log on to SpeedTV.com to cast your vote for this quarter's nominees. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Gilles de Ferran, Sebastian Bourdais, Larry Dixon, J.J. Yaley, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, and Bobby Labonte. Log on to SpeedTV.com now and cast your vote for Driver.
This summer, Chevy's got you covered at every turn. Now get 0% APR for 60 months on every 2003 Chevy truck and SUV. Or get $3,000 cash back, $4,000 on Avalanche. You want it all and Chevy's got it. Great deals on great trucks. No one has more ways to move you this summer.
See your Valley Chevy dealer today.
The Hyundai Elantra, a comparison. More standard features and a more powerful engine than a Honda Civic LX.
All for over $2,000 less when comparably equipped. And only the Elantra is protected by America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. Looks like we have a winner. Test drive the Hyundai Elantra, nicely equipped for just $11,939 at your Hyundai dealer. Hurry into the Hyundai winning season event and get a 2003 Elantra for just $11,939 after $1,500 cash back.
Jeff Gordon, the point leader, comes off the corner and becomes a three-time winner of the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis.
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A moment ago, this was Juan Pablo Montoya, winner of the Monaco Grand Prix, telling Jeff Gordon how to use this steering wheel. Don't start shuffle steering because those shift levers are right where you need them.
Yeah, the only thing the Winston Cup car has on the steering wheel, the only buttons, is the radio button, and then there's a kill switch on there should your throttle. But I look how small that steering wheel is, and of course we run a conventional steering, Steve, that's about a 12-to-1 steering box. And I was also seeing Kyle Busch in the background, who's driving for Hendrick now. I think he actually shook down a show car here yesterday to help the guys determine some gearing. But we run a conventional steering, about a 12-to-1 box on a road course with a fairly good-sized steering wheel, which slows that steering down as well.
It's a much quicker rate of steering we put on the Formula One boxes. I was looking around the car earlier on with Dickie Stanford, the team manager from Williams, and they're running an Estoril power steering rack on the car. They basically build the steering racks for each different circuit with the amount of assistance to give to the driver. You want the drivers really to use as little assistance as possible, but they put assistance on the car, vary it from circuit to circuit. But you're right, really on an F1 car you can go about 3/4 of a turn from lock to lock. But as Bob was rightly saying, you don't want to go more than that because the upshift is on the right hand side, the downshift is on the left. You start crossing over a little bit and get confused.
Now, I'm right in saying on the Formula One car, as long as you're wide open throttle, the upshifts are actually done electronically by RPMs, I guess, to maximize the power through each gear.
Yeah, well, this is the big debate in Formula One now, the technology versus the driver. But basically, we can control the upshifts by computer, you can control it by the driver pulling the upshift, or you can control the upshift and downshift on button. So you've got a multitude of options. You take your pick.
You don't want to give a NASCAR driver too many options.
And those shifts happen literally in less than the blink of an eye. Now, veteran Formula One fans here on Speed Channel know what you're looking at right now, adjustments to the race car. And hey, when you've got a car so complex that the engine alone has over 5,000 parts, you know there's a lot of things you can adjust on. So we'll take a quick break and come back to talk to some folks and wait for Jeff Gordon to get out on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course in a Formula One Williams BMW.
This week on Home Makeover, we're at the home of Paul and Christine Schmidt. Christine wants a new backyard, but they're tight on money, so let's get to work. Take a look. Whoa! Oh, it must have cost a lot! Not at all. Right now, every Yamaha motorcycle and ATV is available for as low as 3.9% APR all the way to $2,005. And just look at the results. Next week, we renovate a kitchen without spending a bundle. So long! So long, thanks! Thanks.
Want a show car shine? Oh, yeah. Use Meguiar's Gold Class Car Wax. Smooth as glass. It's the most reflective car wax Meguiar's has ever made. And that's in over 100 years. Get ready, world. Not only does it give you an incredible shine, it's easy to use. Looking good. It's the best-selling premium car wax in America. Thank you, Meguiar's. Smart guys finish best. Meguiar's.
Say, could you toss me those Autolite double platinum plugs?
Wow, Darrell Waltrip, you're a legend.
You know this grease monkey?
He's a famous cornflakes model.
Well, I also know a thing or two about racing.
Like what?
Well, like these high-performing Autolite plugs are the official spark plug of NASCAR.
Oh, well, la-dee-da. It says that right on the box.
Autolite, it's time to change your plugs.
Saturday on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Oh, we got trouble.
Takes on Memphis. The O'Reilly 200 from Memphis, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hey, F1 fans, who've seen Juan Pablo Montoya, Jeff Gordon's DuPont Chevrolet, makes you want to see it in action in a Winston Cup race. Tune to your local Fox affiliate, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, and join Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip, Mike Joy, and the rest of the gang for the NASCAR Winston Cup Michigan 400 live on Fox. We are live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the weather is holding off, and that's great news. Jeff Gordon is getting ready to climb into a Formula One car for the first time ever. Ralph Shaheen is down there.
Well, I'm standing here with Pablo Montoya. This is Juan's dad, who's done a little racing in his day. How excited was your son to come out and try this?
Oh, very much. I think it's one of the cars that he has never driven, and I know that he will love to do it, and finally he did it.
And what did you think about his performance?
Well, I don't have any comparison with what Jeff did, but I don't know. I think he did it well.
How tough do you think it's going to be for Jeff to get into Juan's car now?
I think his problem will be on the braking, because this car is, your mind doesn't control that the first time, because it goes further than your mind can imagine. That's the problem on these cars.
Well, Bob, I can tell you, as you can see, Juan's parents are here. Jeff's parents are here as well. Nobody wanted to miss this, and I can give you an update on the times. I talked to Robbie Loomis. Robbie said Juan was just a second off of the times that Jeff was running this morning, and he got there very fast, very consistently. He did that on both laps, so they were very impressed with it. And as Jeff gets strapped in and gets ready to go, he did. I asked him if he had done anything to prepare for this, and he did. He did the ultimate racer preparation thing. He broke out the video game. He got Juan's car, ran Indianapolis, and that's what he practiced on getting ready for today.
I tell you what, those games are so good. That's the way to do it. I'll tell you a little story about both men. Both are well known by NASCAR team manager Andy Graves with Target Ganassi Racing. Andy knew Jeff in his USAC days in sprints and midgets and his early Winston Cup days. And he also knows Juan Pablo Montoya well, having been team manager for the Ganassi team that won the Indianapolis 500 with Juan Pablo here in 2000. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway issued a press release, a conversation with Andy, who is not here. He said he's been trying to get Juan Pablo Montoya into a Cup car for years. Juan says, give me about 10 years driving Formula One cars, and I just might take you up on that. Looks like he might be pretty good at it. We'll be back.
Get one shot at life. The all-new R6 from Yamaha.
Jim Brewer here. Going to show you how the new Right Guard Extreme Power Caps work. Power Caps are little balls of extra odor fighters. Let's say these guys represent odor, and the balls my friend Randy Johnson has here represent the Power Caps. Power Caps destroy odors on contact. Get extreme, get Right Guard. You do not want to be odor right now. Oh!
You do it every day, but you've never seen it done like this. It's extreme everyday driving. See stop-and-go driving. Bumper-to-bumper bedlam. Look at the horn, it's gridlock, baby. Ramp up the action with the death-defying uphill horn.
This may not look extreme to you, but it is to your engine. Fram Tough Guard oil filters, tough enough to handle the extremes of everyday driving. Fram, do you drive tough?
It's gonna be awesome.
1993, Prost, Senna. Then they were champions. Today they are legends.
Formula One Decade, the 93 Grand Prix of Europe. Sunday, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Speed.
Welcome back live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There is Jeff Gordon in Juan Pablo Montoya's Williams BMW, about to roll on to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the first time. As you can see, they're having to take sort of a circuitous route out of the southernmost of the garages here at IMS. Like a big right-hand turn here. Let's get down to Ralph Shaheen.
Bob, one of the big things that Jeff was really spending a lot of time with the BMW engineers about was getting this car launched. It's a very tricky thing, as Steve Magic can explain. There's a lot of steps you have to go through. In fact, launching the space shuttle is probably easier.
Well, I guess they would have turned the launch control off right for the moment. What Jeff's doing is just feathering that throttle. Remember that the clutch mechanism is on the steering wheel, and he's got to get used to the fact of using the clutch with his fingers as opposed to the left foot. But he's away and didn't stall the engine at all there, so pretty good so far. Remember, this, I guess, will be a one-lap installation lap back in just to make sure that Jeff's comfortable in the car.
You know, I was hearing Juan's dad talk about the biggest thing, misconception, is just how far you can drive these cars. And I guess coming up here this morning, my thoughts would be that Jeff Gordon would probably underdrive the Formula One car, and Juan probably would be guilty of overdriving the Winston Cup car just because of what they're used to in their respective cars.
Well, better to break too early than too late. And that is the kind of thing we hear from new drivers in Formula One cars all the time, even if they have single-seat or open-wheel experience in things like Formula 3000 or what have you. The stopping power of a Formula One car, the modern age, is perhaps even more awesome than its ability to get going.
Look at there. That helmet with those flames on it, they look like they belong in a Formula One car.
It does look good.
But I'm going to tell you what, we had Jeff Gordon on our trackside show about a year ago, and we talked to him about open-wheel cars and Formula One cars, and you could tell, even then, when this probably wasn't even a thought, very excited about the possibility one day of doing exactly what he's doing here today. And as I talked to him there in the garage here this morning, very focused and very excited about what he was fixing to do.
Here's the beginning of the longest stretch of flat-out running in Formula One. 3,000 feet straight away, plus Indy Turn 1, and all the way down to Turn 12 of the road course. As Steve mentioned, Jeff will bring it in. The team will look it over, see if he's okay to give it some stick.
Steve, it's my understanding when they're here racing the Formula One cars at the end of this front stretch that Bob was talking about, will they be reaching speeds probably at 220, 225 miles per hour headed into Turn 1?
Yeah, you're right, Larry. It's about between 200 and 220 miles an hour. Much of it depends on the wing that they run, because they can change the downforce level so considerably, really dependent on tyre grip and on prevailing weather conditions as well. You see the car in this configuration for Jeff will be set up with a huge amount of downforce on the car just to try and nail the car to the track for him, to help him as much as possible. What the engineers will do now when they pull the car back in, they'll make sure that Jeff's comfortable in the car with the controls. They will also look at the telemetry data coming off the car to see how comfortable Jeff is with using the clutch control, and they can adjust the amount of free play that the potentiometer will give the electronic, so you can vary the amount of feel on the fingers to feel onto the clutch. So if you're struggling a little bit and you think you're about to stall the car, the engineers can tweak that a little bit just to make the driver a tad more comfortable in the car.
We'll take a quick break while the team does its work. Juan Pablo Montoya leans in to give Jeff a little help and support. We'll take a break and come back to catch all of his laps. We're at Indianapolis. Tradin Paint. Stay with us.
And all that.
On speed, Saturday night racing the way it was meant to be. High-speed, door-banging, flat-out short-track racing. Saturday nights just got hotter. ASA Race Series, Mansfield, Ohio. Live Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on
Spencer's TV and Appliance, Arizona's largest independent appliance dealer, just got larger.
It's our grand opening, and you're invited.
Save on all quality Whirlpool products like this 18 cubic foot frost-free refrigerator is only $388, or this Whirlpool dryer is only $188. Plus buy now and pay no interest and no payments for 6 months.
Come help us celebrate the grand opening of our third location in Scottsdale. On Scottsdale Road, just north of Thunderbird. Spencer's TV and Appliance, now with 3 locations, Mesa, Peoria, and North Scottsdale. It's like having a friend in the business.
Reason number 5 for upgrading to Cox Digital Cable. Music choice. It's the jukebox of a new generation. With Cox Digital Cable, you'll get 45 channels of CD-quality, commercial-free music. Whatever your mood or musical preference, enjoy your own mix 24 hours a day. We can even connect Music Choice to your home stereo. And Cox Digital Cable works on your existing TV. For the ultimate entertainment experience, the choice is clear. Call Cox Communications today or visit us online.
Welcome back live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're in the area, I believe it's free to come on in, sit in the short chute down on the south end of the Speedway and watch two of the fastest drivers in the world as they trade race cars. Jeff Gordon is in Juan Pablo Montoya's Williams BMW. Let's listen in a little bit as they debrief.
Just build it up. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Any dramas, come back here and sort them out for you.
Looks like the team is giving him some instructions for his next run.
Yeah, this is very important. That conversation between the driver and the engineers, Larry, I guess exactly the same in all forms of racing. You've got to get the feedback from the driver to the engineers so that everyone's working in the same direction, right?
Yeah, and the thing that amazes me, Steve, is y'all are actually able to use data acquisition, telemetry, even in race conditions.
Yeah.
NASCAR will not allow us to do that at no time under their sanction. The only time we can use data acquisition is when we're at the racetrack privately testing. We run 36 races a year, and we only run 2 road courses. I think every one of you guys is races on a road course.
That's right, yeah, we don't do any oval work at all. I've always been fascinated to see a Formula One race put onto an oval course.
That would be something to see. Let's get down to the garage and Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Bob, we were going to talk to Juan here for just a second. He just stuck his head inside the cockpit to give Jeff one last bit of instruction. They're spending a lot of time talking about the steering wheel. And you can see from inside here, Juan is talking to us. Juan, what were you telling him about the steering wheel?
I just said, first when he lifts, just don't be scared of getting more throttle. And if he would spin or something, because the traction control, the car wouldn't spin around to disable the traction control. But that was it. He said it was pretty good fun. We'll see.
They're getting ready to fire this thing up and get Jeff out of here, and it's going to get real loud real fast with 19,000 RPMs in there.
Oh, yeah. I was down in that garage this morning as they were firing up the engine. Actually, they fired up both cars. And just to see the cars visually sitting one next to the other is one thing. To fire them up and getting that deep, throaty, heavy iron V8 sound from the Cup car, and then to listen to this BMW get up to about 17,000, 18,000 RPM. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, Steve, these things idle at almost what a Winston Cup car turns wide open. I think they idle at about 7,000 RPMs, don't they?
Yeah, in the pit stops, you want to get the thing to tick over at about 10,000 RPM to keep the hydraulic pump working well, because the hydraulics control the throttle mechanism. It also controls the gear selector mechanisms as well. It's the same system that used to control the active suspension, but of course that's been banned by the FIA. But you need to keep the revs up in the pit stop so the hydraulics work. Otherwise, you click and the clutch fails on you.
Now, you open the door. I'm going to walk through it. You mentioned pit stops. We're not going to see a pit stop here today, but I've always been jealous of a Formula One pit stop. When we have a Winston Cup pit stop, we had 7 guys, no more. At a Formula One pit stop, it looks like a large family reunion when they go to service that car.
An average of about 17 people. 17 to 18 people take part.
You got to practice just to stay out of each other's way on a Formula One pit stop.
Yeah, it can get a little bit crowded down there, but about 17 to 18 people. Remember, you've got 3 people on each corner. You've got 2 to 3 guys doing the refueling. Front jack, rear jack, lollipop guy controlling the whole thing, and somebody else normally trying to keep the car stable by holding the roll hoop when it's on the jack. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of synchronized work.
Do you understand anything you talk about roll hoop or anything?
A little bit. I've done some Formula One.
Now, and already you can see the difference, I think, already with Jeff. Much more on the pace. He's still going well under race pace, but he looked down there, the confidence is building already.
And this would be one of the few Formula One tracks, Steve, that you guys go to where there's no really elevation changes. Most of your tracks have elevation changes.
Yeah, there are a lot of elevation changes. Certainly the great circuits like Spa, for example, is very uphill and down dale. This very flat, of course, the F1 infield section built right in the inside of the oval. But technically speaking, I find this track a lot of fun because you've got that great contrast between the long straightaway section that you just saw now, and as we come to the end of the short back straight, the Horman Boulevard, now back into the tight infield section again. So there is your classic example of what you do when you come off the straight
to set the car up for the tight infield section. You've got to get the downforce on the car to make the car stick to the track going around the corners. You want to get the downforce off the car for the long straight. It's got to be a compromise because you cannot adjust the wings once the car's moving.
Just last week at Pocono, your partner DW said, no matter how long you do this, Larry, you always learn something new. And I can remember, Steve, when we did the first Formula One Grand Prix here in Indianapolis, these teams with their hundreds of millions of dollars in budget, and all the computer simulations and the wind tunnel work that goes on 24/7, they came here with a setup that proved to be quite a bit off the mark from what they needed.
Yeah, this is the problem right here, this long, long front straight down into turn one. I was going to see Jeff now hit the brakes. You want to optimize the straight line speed down there, like you're saying, 200, 215 miles an hour, but you want the downforce on the car here. So what do? You've got to compromise. Well, Ferrari found that they were going faster, Bob, in that first race by taking wing off the car, maximising that straight speed down the straight. BAR found they were working exactly the opposite direction. Villeneuve saying the more wing we put on, the more stable the car became. The lap time dropped again. So, right, different ends of the spectrum.
Seen a little vibration from our onboard cameras. We're not using the FIA, well, we're using their mounts, but we have our own onboard cameras, and you can see that vibration from these incredible engine revs. That's probably pretty much what the driver's eyeballs are doing as well. Let's get down to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, we're down here with Juan Montoya, who's got some of Jeff Gordon's crew behind him here. You're watching on the big screen. What do you think, Juan?
It's pretty good. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. To get, he's in the pace pretty quickly, and the cars are pretty tough to drive, and he looks quite comfortable in it. It's really amazing. I've never been in a Formula 1 car, and he's doing really good.
We saw him go off in the one corner, and the guys in the booth were talking about how difficult it is to figure out the turning areas of the racetrack and how to set the car up for that. How difficult is it to, when you first get in the car, to acclimatize yourself to that and to the racetrack itself, as we've seen with Jeff?
It wasn't that difficult. It was a lot of fun, and just the car is so good, that it's very predictable and everything good. It's so much fun.
What's going to be the toughest thing for him in this car?
Braking, to really get to the braking point, because he told me you got to brake like into 250. In the F1 we brake about the 50.
How long did it take you to get acclimatized to the braking then?
Well, it's a bit weird because you brake and it's like when the F1 when you lift, because there's so much down for the cars go, then when you lift you lose so much speed that it's like just lifting. But you're trying to slow down the car quick enough to make the corner. It's pretty exciting.
All right, Bob, everybody watching the big monitor.
I'll bet they are.
I tell you what, guys, I clocked Jeff on that lap there at a minute 20, just a little over minute 20 seconds, minute 20:48. And I'm being told that is a pretty good lap. And just to put it in perspective, that's about 20 seconds quicker than Juan ran in the Winston Cup car.
It's about 10 seconds off the Formula One, the ultimate all-time Formula One qualifying lap around this place. Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari last year went 110.790. The 107% rule, the old rule that dictated you had to be within 107% of the pole time in order to get into the field. Last year, 1 minute 15.745. If Jeff gets under a minute 20, he is doing something spectacular.
He just picked up almost 2 seconds on that lap from the lap before that. 1 minute 18.85. Pretty good, Steve.
Oh, it's excellent. I was talking to Dickie Stanford again this morning. He was just saying when Juan Pablo was doing some insulation work on the car, setting the car up this morning, JPM was turning laps of about 117, 117.2. So already for Jeff Gordon to learn to 118, this is a sure sign of professional racing driver easily adapting to the different equipment. It's quite staggering.
There's a lot of smiles, I'm guessing, out there in NASCAR land among the legions of NASCAR fans watching a four-time Winston Cup champion take this Grand Prix car and wring its neck a little bit.
Now, I tell you what, I find that quite interesting that Jeff Gordon's done to very quickly. And JPM was alluding to it there as we just went down to him with Ralph Shaheen, was under braking. When the driver lifts off in an F1 car, you get so much drag that there's an awful lot of deceleration there, even before the driver touches the brakes. When the driver hits the brakes again and the car slows more and that downforce starts to come off, very, very easy to lock the brakes. All that huge downforce pushes the tyres into the track, keeps the thing moving in a straight line. But if you overbrake when the downforce comes on the car, you can be off in an absolute heartbeat. But Jeff Gordon, I have to say, is adapting it remarkably quickly. I'm very impressed.
Let's get back down to Ralph.
Well, that's John Bickford over there, just getting off the phone. He's been holding the phone up there so everybody can hear Jeff going around in the F1 car. And I got his mom here, Carol Bickford. Well, we had a chance to talk to Juan's dad. What do you think? How's your boy doing out there, John?
Real cool. real cool. I don't even, my vocabulary is not broad enough to come up with a description for this. This is like a life dream. I'm 56 years old, been dreaming about this since just 5 years old. So that's been, what is he, 31, so 26 years I've been dreaming of him being in a Formula One car, and best car in the world, a BMW, you know, what can I say? Best day of my life.
You know, Carol, I know you've seen your son go through so many stages and have so many accomplishments in his career. How does he react to coming to this one today? How excited was he?
I don't think I have seen him with a smile that big on his face for a long time. He picked me up at the hotel this morning, knocked on the door, and he had a huge grin on his face. He couldn't wait to get over here.
I think it's kind of great, Bob. We got the ultimate Little League parents going on here today between Juan's dad and mom here and Jeff's parents. They're all excited watching their boys living out their dreams.
No question about that. John Bickford is Jeff's stepdad, a huge figure in Jeff's Formula years in racing. Let's ride with him for a while.
He just picked up another second from that second lap, minute 17:89. Talk about the de-acceleration, acceleration. Just watch Jeff Gordon's head when he gets on the brake, go forward, and watch it kick back on acceleration. Even when he shifts.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Jeff is sitting nice and low in that chassis as well below the air intake. Something very critical for the engineers. They want the driver to be sat low, A, for the center of gravity and get the mass of the driver down low, but you want the helmet well clear of that air intake on the roll hoop, because that'll drastically affect the performance out of the lump.
And it's funny you mentioned the center of gravity, because listen to Juan talk about the stock car not being very forgiving. I mean, that's the thing. Everything's so high. I mean, the lowest point of a stock car is the left front corner at 4.5 inches off the ground. Minute 17:29. That's another half second.
Keeps doing this, he's going to qualify for the Grand Prix.
We're talking to John Bickford this morning, Jeff's father. He said that the closest thing that Jeff has been to in a car like this was when he was 18 years old. He drove a Super V over at IRP road course. But again, using that same analogy, he said compared to the Formula One, go-kart to a Winston Cup car. And they came out of the press box and said, who's in that car? He's about a second quicker than most anybody we've had here running these things.
There's a great shot. See how low down he's set in the car? That's great. He'll impress the engineer just from that alone. He's got the physique for a Formula One driver.
Well, we have a moment we want to thank the Williams and the Hendrick teams, the folks from BMW and Chevrolet, all of their sponsors, everybody involved in making this happen. Of course, that includes the staff of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll take a break and return with more Tradin Paint on what is now a beautiful day in Indianapolis. Stay with us.
Some people were just born lucky. Life didn't hand them a silver spoon. It handed them something much cooler. Busch Beer. For 20 years running, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Busch Series.
Say, could you toss me those Autolite double platinum plugs?
Wow, Darrell Waltrip, you're a legend.
You know this grease monkey?
He's a famous cornflakes model.
Well, I also know a thing or two about racing.
Like what?
Well, like these high-performing Autolite plugs are the official spark plug of NASCAR.
Oh, well, la-dee-da, it says that right on the box.
Autolite, it's time to change your plugs.
There are ordinary disposable razors, but now there's new Sensor 3 from Gillette. Totally new handle, 3 blades, on springs that adjust to your face. No disposable shape's better. It could be the best disposable you ever threw away. New Gillette Sensor 3.
You do it every day, but you've never seen it done like this. It's extreme everyday driving. See stop-and-go traffic. Bumper-to-bumper bedlam. Play on the horn, it's gridlock, baby. Ramp up the action with the
This may not look extreme to you, but it is to your engine.
Fram Tough Guard oil filters, tough enough to handle the extremes of everyday driving. Fram, do you drive tough?
It's gonna be awesome!
You want to know why I rent from Enterprise? Because having the right car can make all the difference.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Welcome back live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We just got a fist pump out of the Williams BMW from Jeff Gordon as we welcome you back to Tradin Paint. Jeff Gordon and Juan Pablo Montoya Tradin Race Cars. Is this a publicity stunt? You bet it is. And we hope you've got your tickets for the 10th Brickyard 400 coming up the weekend of August 3rd and the 4th U.S. Grand Prix at Indianapolis the weekend of September 28th. There's the phone number, 1-800-822-INDY, I-N-D-Y, to get your tickets.
Is this kid having fun or what?
Oh, boy, he is impressive. I mean, it's Jeff Gordon. I mean, we should expect this. But boy, oh boy, he has taken to this like a veteran.
I was asking the mechanics how comfortable Jeff was in the car, because it's normal procedure for a new driver to have a new carbon fiber seat mate molded to his contours of his backside and his back to make sure he's absolutely 100% comfortable. Larry, how much seat fitting goes off in the Cup Car Championship? I'm talking about the comparison because the mechanic said straight away Jeff was fine. We gave him one of Montoya's seats. He didn't complain. We said that was fine. How was the pedal positions? He said he was comfortable. We didn't adjust them for him. I said, did you give him the option? We never said anything to him. He was comfortable. We walked away from him. Said it was fine.
Well, there's a lot of work that goes into the cockpit of a Winston Cup car, because what you have to remember, they're in there for 400- and 500-mile races, you know, 3.5, 4 hours. And, of course, over the last 2 years, we've seen so many safety innovations with put them in that cocoon, as we call it, with the headrest and the head neck restraint devices. A lot of things have come along just in the last 2 years.
Let's get down to Ralph.
Well, I know he doesn't want to crawl out of there any sooner than he has to. He's debriefing with his own crew chief. Okay, what'd you think?
Oh, my God. That is the most incredible experience I've ever had in my life. It was so different and unique at the beginning. I actually, it looked like I went in too deep in that one corner, went in the grass, but I actually didn't go in deep enough. Or I didn't get on the brakes hard enough, and I jabbed the brakes, and the back end just turned on me. So, you know, just learning to use the curbs and how much you can get on the throttle. I mean, that traction control is a beautiful thing. So how much we'd love to have that over in our you know, actually, through the fast corners, it's amazing how much grip it has. I mean, the G-forces that my head took, unbelievable. On braking, I could feel me get lightheaded because so much blood rushed to the front of my head. I never experienced that before, but you know, when you learn how the traction control works, you can just lay in the throttle so hard. And the only other problem I had is that, you know, they tricked me. They've got it where it automatically goes up in gear, but I have to manually do it down in gear. So I'm so used to it going up in gears, I'd like, oh, I forgot I got a downshift.
How tough was it to launch this thing?
Well, I haven't launched yet. You know, I just went out there and just stood on the pedal and just let it go. But we're thinking about maybe doing a launch on this next, and that'd be pretty cool. But I don't know. There's so many technical things going on this steering wheel. I don't know if I want to complicate things anymore.
You know, unofficially, we got you about a second off of the grid. Do we need to start the rumor, or are you going F1 racing?
No, I can see where you know, getting that last second is really, really tricky. You know, I'd love to sit in here and play with the car a little bit. Yeah, I feel it's a little bit tight. Yeah, I'd like to take a little front brake bias out of it, but that experience right there in itself is what I came here for. You know, yeah, I don't know what that Winston Cup car is going to feel like when I get to Sears Point in a couple weeks, but what a fun, awesome experience, and I just can't thank everybody enough for pulling this together.
I don't know, guys. He looks pretty good sitting in that cockpit there. It seems to fit him well. And Bob, you know, I've seen him in a lot of victory lanes, but I've never seen him smile that big.
Yeah, he is like a kid in a candy store.
I'm going to tell you, his line looks so good. I mean, I don't really know what a Formula One line should look like at this place, watching it on a monitor, but boy, he sure did look awfully smooth. And the thing I'm seeing is a grin on Jeff Gordon's face. That yeah, he's had probably 62 times for his 62 wins, but he's having a big time.
Yeah, he did well. There's no doubt about that. The engineers are pleased with him.
It's unreal how fast that thing brakes. I got close to that 51 time and scared myself enough. I was like, okay, I'll back it up. But you get to the 100 mark and you're trying to push the car away from you because you're like, ain't no way it's going to stop. But it does. It's amazing, the brakes. I mean, that's what.
You went flat through here, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Easy. Once I got off the last, that last kind of tight. The car kind of bumps and gets understeer there, so I didn't feel like I could get in as soon as I wanted to. But from there, I was flat all the way down. I felt definitely. It's like some place on the slower places, I could feel a little bit of oversteer when I'm right in like over a curve. But as soon as you go to the gas, it just straightens right out.
When it oversteers, you go on the throttle, the traction control comes in straight away.
That took me a little while, like I wasn't using the traction control. And once I figured that baby out, I mean, I just started letting it as a brrr, and it just, boom. Very cool, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. Awesome. I somehow I just don't think I got the same ride that you did, or you got the same ride that I did. So.
No, believe me, I had a lot of fun. I am having a lot of fun. Because for me, like this, I'm so used to. With that, you know, you go and it's like it goes, and you don't know how far you can go. You know, with this, sometimes you're the limit. Where that, you know, the car can be the limit, but you can like learn to push it a bit more. It's really exciting.
The other thing is, like we talked about, the corner comes up so fast that you know, you let off the gas, and you feel the car decelerate, and you think, oh, I'll be fine, but then all of a sudden you're there, and that's what I found. The corner just is like, bam, right there, as soon as you get out of the gas. So, it's awesome. I got to have some head supports if I'm going to go back out, man. I tell you what, that baby will wear your neck out.
How much respect did you guys earn for each other based on the types of cars that you do drive? I mean, professionally, you both have to have a lot of respect for each other, but now you've had a chance to sample each other's stuff.
But for me, I gotta say, you know, especially when you go through the fast corners, how light the car is. Imagine, you know, in an oval, it's gotta be, you need to really get a car right. It's like in every, you know, like this is the same. You need to get a really good balance to go quick. Where I think in that you need to get a really good balance to get to the end.
How about you, Jeff? Did you earn a lot of respect for him today?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, I know his neck's in shape, that's for sure. You know, it's just amazing the side loads that the cars have. And it's like he said, the limits a lot of times are with the driver, how hard you can push it. And that, you know, that extra, that bit of time that I would need, it would take so much because, you know, it's just finding the limits of myself, finding the limits of the car. And using the curbs. I mean, you got to have a lot of confidence and know that corner is coming up fast and just get in there and just manhandle it and just kind of go after it and be real aggressive, where our car aggressiveness can slow you down.
Well, there you have it, Bob. Bench racing is such a big part of our sport, and the two best drivers in the world just said, hey, we're some of the best drivers in the world. And we won't solve this battle today, will we?
I'm just sitting here trying to do the math. How many tens of thousands of racing miles do these guys have between them? And yet here they are, like a couple of kids with their go-karts saying, man, you have got some good stuff there. We'll take a break and return to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
With new Odor Eaters Plus. Odor Eaters Plus is the only insole with podiatric arch support plus protection on demand against odor and wetness.
Jump for joy, new Odor Eaters Plus.
For dry, red eyes, Clear Eyes is awesome. It removes redness and has an ingredient to moisturize. Wow. The difference is clear. Clear Eyes.
1993, Prost, Senna. Then they were champions. Today they are legend.
Formula One Decade, the 93 Grand Prix of Europe. Sunday, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on
Gila River Casinos presents the California surfing sounds of the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys perform live at the Wild Horse Pass Casino Outdoor Pavilion, Saturday, July 5th at 9 p.m. Then enjoy a fireworks spectacular that will light up the night sky immediately following the show. Tickets are on sale now at the Wild Horse Pass and Bequiva Casino gift shops. Don't miss the good vibrations or the fun performed by this incredible band.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And now, we'll give you 24 free dinners to any El Paso Barbecue Company restaurant with any windshield replacement. So for the best windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive insurance deductible, and 24 free dinners to any El Paso Barbecue Company restaurant, call Empire Glass today at 602-952-9339. And when you think glass, think Empire.
Welcome back to Indianapolis. Now, if you're a NASCAR fan watching these Grand Prix cars for the first time, you may want to check out Speed Channel's coverage of Formula One. This weekend, Juan Pablo Montoya and the BMW Williams team will go for 2 in a row at the Canadian Grand Prix. First round qualifying is live Friday afternoon at 2 on Speed Channel. Final qualifying Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and the race can be seen Sunday beginning at 12:30 p.m. with Peter Windsor in the Grand Prix paddock in Montreal. Join Steve Matchett, David Hobbs, Rick DeBrule, and Peter for the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend here on Speed Channel. Now, you've heard the drivers refer to going out again. It's been left up to them. If they'd like to take a few more laps, they can, and we've been told that they will. So we'll take another break and come back to watch Jeff Gordon and Juan Pablo Montoya having the time of their professional lives here at the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Stay with us. We're live here on Speed Channel.
Outside and play in the mud.
Follow your heart.
Guess some things never change. Head for the mountains of Bush.
I know a little something about making good moves. So if you're thinking about Viagra, one of the best moves you can make is a pit stop to see your doctor.
Ready to ask your doctor about Viagra for the first time? Find out if a free sample is right for you.
Make your move. Talk to your doctor about Viagra today.
To learn more, race over to Viagra.com.
There are ordinary disposable razors, but now there's new Sensor 3 from Gillette. Totally new handle, 3 blades, on springs that adjust to your face. No disposable shaves better. It could be the best disposable you ever threw away. New Gillette Sensor 3.
Jump for joy.
With new Odor Eaters Plus. Odor Eaters Plus is the only insole with podiatric arch support plus protection on demand against odor and wetness.
Jump for joy. New Odor Eaters Plus.
World Rally 2003. This Sunday, it's the wild and twisty fan favorite Rally of Cyprus. Another dusty gravel course run at the peak of the searing Mediterranean summer. The Rally of Cyprus takes its toll on cars, suspensions, and drivers alike. The trick here is making it across the finish line. World Rally Championship Cyprus, Sunday 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
You're the winner of the Indianapolis 500, pal. You are the winner. You are the man. You're the most famous race driver in the whole world right now.
That was Juan Pablo Montoya winning the Indianapolis 500 back in the year 2000. 2 weeks ago in Monaco, he won the biggest Grand Prix of all. Got out of the car and said, now I've done it. An Indy 500 and a Monaco Formula One Grand Prix. That's all I ever really wanted to do. Watching him going around today, though, Larry McReynolds, I think he may want to put a Brickyard 400 on his wish list.
But I'm going to tell you, Steve, winning at Monaco, would that be relative to almost like winning the Daytona 500 or winning the Brickyard 400? I mean, that's a big event in Formula One.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely it is. It's really the jewel in the crown of Formula One. And Williams have been out of luck for so many years. I think it was back in 1983 with Keke Rosberg claimed their last win. Williams have been jinxed year in, year out at Monaco, and you could see the elation certainly within the team. Patrick Head himself was a little bit downcast after the race because they had water leak problems on that BMW engine in the last 8 laps, and it looked at one point like given another 2 laps, Montoya's car would not have finished the Grand Prix at Monaco. So Williams, an absolute great sigh of relief to have claimed that win. Again, yes, it's an enormous victory for Williams.
And we were talking in our opening that these Winston Cup stock cars, they carry 22 gallons of fuel. When I watch a Formula One race, I'm all the time hearing them talking about fuel loads. How much fuel do those cars carry on board?
Well, really, it all depends on how strategy plays out in the Formula One race, Larry. Whether you go for a 1-stop, 2-stop or 3-stop race, the amount of fuel on board, of course, as you well know, affects the lap times out of the car. So you've got to work out track position, how fast the opposition is in front of you, how slow the opposition is behind. You've got to time that perfect moment to come in for those pit stops. But at Prey, you're running close to about 80 or 90 kilograms of fuel on the car for one stop. 12 litres a second going to the car. I'm sorry to be talking metric figures. It's kind of what I grew up with.
Well, that's the way Formula One teams do, though. They don't talk about volume of fuel. They talk about weight of fuel. We just saw a little lockup there from Juan Pablo. He is working this car hard. Ralph Shaheen.
And there's a reason for that, too, Bob. They've made some adjustments to the car to suit his driving style a little bit. They tightened the car up a little bit. They took the track bar down a half on the left, a quarter on the right, and then they put a half a rubber in the left rear and a half a rubber in the left front, and they put stickers on the car. And Larry can tell you a lot more about what that did, but Larry, that should have tightened the car up a little bit, shouldn't it?
Well, definitely. Sticker tires means new tires, tires that have not been run yet, and that right there is going to give the car more grip overall around the racetrack. But I think one thing that Juan is having to get used to, and we need to explain traction control just a little bit, Steve, is it's totally illegal in NASCAR. It just came back legal in Formula One, but basically means it will not let you spin the rear tires up on acceleration.
Right, what it enables the drivers to do in F1 cars is to commit deeper to the corner, at corner entry and apex, and on the exit. Oh, now we're seeing some smoke come out of the car. Now, is that tyre smoke we still come off the car?
Yeah. He is getting down very deep into one.
And he ran a minute 38.72, so he's picked up a couple of seconds from his laps the first time out. So he's getting a little more comfortable in this 3,400-pound stock car.
Just to finish that thought on traction control, Larry, what it enables a Formula One car to do, the driver can hit the throttle and allow the onboard computers to dictate how much throttle the car will give. So there's no real direct physical link on a Formula One car between the driver's foot on the throttle and the engine's throttles or butterflies. That's all controlled by a computer. So the driver can demand full throttle only if the computer thinks, yeah, okay, I'll agree to do that. Then the engine will open up the full throttle. If not, it will back the throttles off. As soon as it detects wheel spin, it'll close the throttles off. Once wheel spin's gone away and traction's regained, it'll start to open up those throttles again. So it is a way, you're quite right, of stopping the car spinning as it comes out of corner.
And without traction control in this Winston Cup car right here, the only thing that controls real spin is the driver's right foot by how much a throttle he tries, or as we say, driving it like you have an egg under the throttle. Keep those rear wheels from spinning.
It's all part of the driver's skills.
Now, Larry, you saw the car going down into turn one. When he was JPM on the last lap there, Montoya locked up now. Is he just trying to get used to the fact that you can't leave it so late to brake in a Winston Cup car because of the weight and the steel brakes?
Yeah, and I mean, you heard him talk about straight line braking. You know, the car will stop much better if you're braking. Use as much brake as you need, get the car wound down, and then get off the brakes as you start to turn.
That's exactly the same in an F1 car. You want to brake in a straight line. You don't really want to brake as you go around the corner, because as the weight shifts, as the transfer shifts to the front axle, the back will just step right out on you. There's nothing you can do on traction control then. Going into a corner is all about driver commitment. Going out, you can rely on the computer technology, but going in, it's all down to the driver.
I wonder if the Formula One engineers would understand the phrase "woe down." We should also point out he's got a little less rubber up front than he's used to. Those front Goodyears only, what, 9.5 inches wide, as opposed to the 13 inches he has Michelin rubber on his Grand Prix car.
I'll tell you what was helping Jeff as well. I think a Formula One car, you can't pansy around with it. You have to drive it. You have to get the heat into the tires. You have to get the heat into the brakes. If you're a little bit unsure about it and not very confident in it, then the car will try and have you over. They're a real evil beast. You really have to drive them to the limit, because once the temperatures come up, then they start to work much, much better. The same with the downforce. Get the speed on the car, and the thing sticks better and better and better. Larry, the same in a Cup car?
Yeah, just in some places. But you was talking about heating the tires and heating the brakes. One thing I noticed, and I've seen this on television before, is the minute the Formula One car came in the garage area, 4 mechanics put tire warmer blankets on the tires.
Right.
Another thing that's not legal in NASCAR stock car is tire warmer blankets, and I think that's one reason a lot of times these cars run 2 laps of qualifying Winston Cup cars. They're quicker on the second lap because of heating the tires.
JPM brings the DuPont Chevy in, and we expect Jeff Gordon will be back out in the Williams BMW momentarily. We'll take another break and return for more fun with race cars at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Just how close are you to finding a place with a spectacular view? chances are closer than you think. Bush. Head for the mountains of Bush.
Say, could you toss me those Autolite double platinum plugs?
Wow, Darryl Waltrip, you're a legend. You know this grease monkey? He's a famous cornflakes model.
Well, I also know a thing or two about racing.
Like what?
Well, like these high-performing Autolite plugs are the official spark plug of NASCAR.
Oh, well, not da. It says that right on the box.
Autolite, it's time to change your plugs.
Do you need a little help with lawn care? Come into Ace Hardware. We'll help you with all your lawn and garden needs. Ace, the helpful place.
Introducing Bayer Advanced Power Force Grass and Weed Killer. One application knocks out even the toughest weeds. Fast.
1, 2, 3, it's over!
Guaranteed. Bayer Advanced. Better thinking, better results. Bayer Advanced Power Force Multi-Insect Killer. Nothing kills bugs faster. Guaranteed. Bayer Advanced. Better thinking, better results.
Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain.
Chance for you to sound off no matter what kind of racing you like.
Dave's talking motorsports live.
Old Dave here, your big old self-centered TV windbag.
Wind Tunnel, Friday nights at 11, only on Speed.
Welcome back live to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In the foreground, the Hall of Fame and Museum. Definitely worth a trip if you're ever here. In fact, I've got a personal dream of doing a television show from the basement of that museum. The stuff they have down there is absolutely unbelievable. While we're waiting for Jeff Gordon to climb into Juan Pablo Montoya's BMW Williams Formula One car, let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Hey, Bob, look at this right here. This is called flat spotting a cup tire right there. See, you took it right down to the cords, did one. I can tell you that is really hot, but you can see the cord sticking right through there. Brian Vickers did the exact same thing when he was shaking this car down yesterday, getting set for it. And let's ask Juan as he talks to Robbie Loomis here to find out a little bit about flat spotting that tire. How was that flat spot in the tire?
I just braked a bit too hard, and you know what they told me, don't roll the car on the brakes, and I was trying a bit hard. And if I wouldn't roll the car on the brakes, I wouldn't make the corner. Now
he tightened it up for you. How did it feel for you?
Oh, a lot better, especially through high speed. It was a lot better. I had a little bit of push in slow speed, but it was good.
All right, well let's get back to the debriefing session. So Juan's pushing the limits, flat spotting the tires.
He's been in that stock car for 6 laps. Now he's using the right terminology. It's pushing. Yeah. It's not understeer.
Not so much the vibration, but the push. Gets more push with that.
Got that wicked push.
Pushing like a dump truck.
His wife Connie is recording the scene for Juan Pablo. We'll take another break and be back with more Tradin Paint.
There are ordinary disposable razors, but now there's new Sensor 3 from Gillette. Totally new handle, 3 blades, on springs that adjust to your face. No disposable shaves better. It could be the best disposable you ever threw away. New Gillette Sensor 3.
Check out Sunday's Winston Cup race from an insider's perspective on Winston Cup Wednesday.
A guy that messes up that many times needs to go back and learn how to drive.
Winston Cup Wednesday nights at 8, exclusively on Speed Channel. Friday nights, go trackside.
It's not scooting, it's not sliding, it's just digging. This is the show of shows.
I bet you don't know what boogity, boogity, boogity.
It starts races and it sells a lot of T-shirts.
This is my people right here. They thunder down that back straightaway. This is out of hand down here. I like this.
Trackside, Friday nights, only on...
Where can you get the best motorcycle accessories and apparel in the Valley? Joetta's Leather in Mesa. Joetta's Leather carries the largest selection at the lowest prices, including big and tall. Chaps, vests, lingerie, travel gear, and kids gear. Joetta's has it all.
I'm Joetta, and I guarantee the lowest prices in the Valley. Bring any competitor's coupon, and I'll beat their price.
Ride over now and find everything you need for your ride at Joetta's Leather in Mesa or their brand new location in Peoria.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And now, we'll give you 24 free dinners to any El Paso Barbecue Company restaurant with any windshield replacement. So for the best windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive insurance deductible, and 24 free dinners to any El Paso Barbecue Company restaurant, call Empire Glass today at 602-952-9339. And when you think glass, think Empire.
Back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Bob Varsha, Larry McReynolds, Steve Matchett, and Ralph Shaheen with you live for Tradin Paint. Now, there's the phone number to call for your tickets to the Brickyard 400 in August and the U.S. Grand Prix at Indy in September. 1-800-822-INDY. You can also go to the internet, brickyard.com or usgpindy.com. Line up your tickets for some of the greatest motoring events in the world.
Now, Steve, I'm going to assume that the launch that Jeff was talking about, that's what we see at the beginning of every one of those Formula One races. That's how they start the race. You don't have anybody up there saying boogity, 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 do you?
No, we don't. That's right. You're absolutely right, Larry. Launch control is a method of, exactly as it describes, launching the car off the grid positions there, where you can arm it to change gear automatically and upshift to control the clutch mechanism and everything with a launch button on the steering wheel. Now, as soon as the driver presses the brakes at the end of the straight and the car detects wheel speed is decreasing, it'll automatically shut off the launch control system and go back to a manual control system. But that's what it is. Launch control is a way of starting the race.
To answer your question, Larry, David Hobbs says some pretty goofy things sometimes. Let's get down to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Tiny Ross is the lead engineer or chief engineer on this Williams. And Tiny, did you guys make any changes to the car to fit Jeff for this next stint?
No, we just fitted a new set of tyres for him, just so he gets to feel the grip on a new set of tyres. Just going to go out there, do a launch start, then do a couple of time laps, and then the cars will join up together. So just make him a little bit more comfortable in the car. Obviously, with the G-forces with this car compared to the NASCAR, a little bit more. So putting a bit of padding on the side of the cockpit just to help him support his head. And then let him loose again.
You get to work with two of the best drivers in the world, Ralph Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya. How impressed were you with Jeff?
And he was very good. He just worked consistently down on the lap times, and it's perfect.
Bob?
Thanks very much, Ralph. Couldn't come up with a better summation of what these guys are doing. Impressive. Creeping up on it. We'll come back in a moment to see how Jeff does in a Formula One Grand Prix start.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shot.
Who are you? I'm Brad. I'm with the Sons Without Dads organization. Who are you?
I'm his dad.
Spending too much time on home improvement projects? Come into Ace for the expert advice you need. Ace, the helpful place.
The all-new Vulcan 1600 Classic Cruiser has arrived. Hurry in now for Kawasaki's hot supercharged deals.
Saturday on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Oh, we got trouble.
Takes on Memphis. Feel right into the heart of Memphis, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
Welcome back live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon just said, my only real problem is my helmet keeps wanting to fly off my head in this car. And that's a pretty common complaint from drivers who are used to having a roof over their head when they get into an open cockpit car like this Williams BMW. Ralph Shaheen is there.
Yeah, Bob, look at it. He's added wind deflectors right here and up at the top of the helmet, and they've changed back here as well where where it locks into the helmet. They just did that literally moments ago to get Jeff ready for this. His head was really buffeting around, and he's getting all set to go. Hey, how nervous are you about doing this launch, Jeff? Looks like he's talking to the mechanics. They're giving him directions here, so he's getting ready to get started. He is really a little concerned about getting this launch right because, as we said before, and Steve Match can go through it, there's a tremendous amount of things that go into launching one of these Formula One cars.
Yeah, it is. It's a complex procedure, really. It's all a matter of getting onto the grid, pulling the car back down into neutral. So you'll probably see Jeff doing that with his left hand on the steering wheel. Then the launch control mechanism will work out, preset by the engineers would have done that this morning, the amount of grip on the track, and it's all about controlling the wheel spin, a little bit like drag racing. You don't want too much wheel spin because obviously that loses time off the grid, but you've got to control it right, because if you don't get enough wheel spin, you just a little bit, the clutch will drag and stall the car. So it's all about the engineers setting that car up with the grip level. The big problem in race weekends comes if you get a wet day, then you have to change the strategy, because obviously the grip level of the track will change enormously and you get huge amounts of wheel spin. If you've set the launch control up for dry conditions, vice versa, you'll stall the car. So tricky procedure for the engineers to do. Now for the driver, it's really a matter of getting onto the grid, down into neutral, arming the launch control system and then releasing it on a button as soon as the lights go off. Remember, in Formula One, Larry, we have the 5 red lights come on, and as soon as the lights go off, that's the start of the race.
Well, you know, in a Winston Cup race like at Michigan this weekend in that 400-miler, there's a lot of elements that's important in that race. We always look at that final pit stop, those final adjustments. But what Formula One races I've watched on television, it seems like that launch, the start of the race, can be a big key to the outcome of that race as well.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's touch and go whether or not the drivers really want launch control and or the teams want it. It's a way of controlling the car to a degree, but it's not really controlling technology in the way that traction control is. I would be happy to see launch control go away and stop with traction control itself. We take launch control off the car.
Well, the age-old rhyme in racing, it's about winning.
It's about winning.
And as I looked at these two cars, I found two resemblances between these two types of cars, these two types of races. They both have 4 wheels, and the goal is to win. And the radio antenna was the same.
Let's listen as Jeff gives it some stick. So
what kind of grade did you give him on that launch, Steve?
Well, I think the engineers were helping me enormously there.
Couldn't ask for better than that, as far as I'm concerned. For a first-timer,
fastest lap in that first session was 1:17:29 on his 5th lap. He ran 6 laps, so I'm going to about bet the house he's going to go quicker.
It was interesting, Larry, in the break when we were talking about ride height adjustments, and I asked Larry how much ride height adjustment you would do on a Cup car during the race weekend, and it's basically nothing because the thing is set by templates, right?
Very little, because NASCAR mandates a roof height 10 inches back from the windshield. They mandate the quarter-pound heights, and they check those heights before the race and after the event. Now, can the driver in the cockpit, can he adjust the ride heights of this car? Is it cockpit adjustable?
No, we used to be able to do that in Formula One back in 92 and 93 with active suspension, when it used to have 4 actuators on the corners as opposed to springs and dampers. By then the engineers could adjust the ride height, the pitch rate and everything on the car. Yaw rate, spring rates, roll bar rates, everything could be done with hydraulics. Now they have to use torsion bars, dampers and springs as a regular car would do, but it doesn't allow the drivers to adjust the ride height. However, with all the technology on the cars and the telemetry coming off the cars, the engineers will ask the mechanics to make ride height adjustments as little as like 0.5 millimeter ride height adjustment on the car will affect the performance of the car down the straight by speeding up the airflow, the velocity increase of the air underneath the car.
Now, for you good old stock car boys watching our trade and paint show, a damper would be a shock, I think.
That's right.
That's right.
Absorber. Well, that's part of the thrill of Formula One, I think. It is very much a factory sport, a garage sport. It's a technology fight unlike any other. And that's, frankly, not the right cup of tea to a lot of fans. But for those of us who love it, it's great fun.
But it's amazing on Sunday morning when the Formula One races are on. They're on very early in the morning here on the East Coast and Central Time. How many of the Winston Cup teams and drivers are in the front of those haulers in the lounge with the Formula race on?
Racers are racers.
I think so. And I've been impressed doing this trade and paint experience. I'm very impressed with NASCAR technology in the way that it's very basic. But Lower 74, nearly 900 brake coming out of those engines, I think is wonderful stuff.
Minute 16:46 for Mr. Gordon on that lap. He's picked up another second. And this is not a crew chief stopwatch. I'm giving you the real time. So how much difference can those wind deflectors and things they were putting on Jeff's helmet, what kind of difference can they really make, Steve?
Well, what it will control is, I guess the difference between the Cup car and the Formula One car we're seeing here is because it's an open cockpit, so there's an awful lot of air buffeting around, and air will get inside Jeff's helmet and try and pull the helmet off, right? So I guess what they've done is basically to bend the helmet to take that air away from it, because inside the Cup car, I'm guessing the air is much less, the buffeting is much less because of the surround of the screen, so it wouldn't really affect the helmet in the same way. So what they're trying to do is just evacuate the air build-up, the pressure build-up inside the helmet.
We're going to take one more break. We'll do it when Jeff Gordon comes around to complete this lap, and we'll come back to watch he and Juan Pablo Montoya take their parade laps in their respective vehicles. You're watching a couple of the best in the world living the dream here at Indianapolis.
Slow down a little bit. Minute 16:86. Not bad, though.
Might have been looking for the DuPont Monte Carlo that time around. Stay with us for more live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Tradin Paint.
You want to know why I ran from Enterprise? Because having the right car can make all the difference.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
ZX6R. It's not from around here. Hurry in now for Kawasaki's hot supercharged deals.
There are ordinary disposable razors, but now there's new Sensor 3 from Gillette. Totally new handle, 3 blades, on springs that adjust to your face. No disposable shaves better. It could be the best disposable you ever threw away. New Gillette Sensor 3.
With new Odor Eaters Plus. Odor Eaters Plus is the only insole with podiatric arch support plus protection on demand against odor and wetness.
Jump for joy, new Odor Eaters Plus.
My first car was a 1984 Z28. The person who owned it paid like $600 and got a kit to make it a convertible. So it was a cheesy convertible, but still, it was a great car.
This Saturday on Speed at 3. Get ready for some rock and roll action when the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series heads to Memphis. Join us for live short track racing. And at 5:30, Champ Car qualifying from Portland, Oregon. This race has been a regular stop for the last 20 years. Later at 9, live ASA racing from Mansfield, Ohio. Kick-ass Saturday night action. That's all this Saturday, only on Speed.
Speed Channel's coverage of Gordon Montoya Tradin Paint is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. We're coming to the end of our Tradin Paint program. There you see Juan Pablo Montoya on the left, Jeff Gordon on the right, doing their laps of honor here at the Speedway. Time for final thoughts. Let's begin down in the pit area with Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Bob, as race fans, we all have our favorite series and our favorite drivers, and when we go bench racing, we like to argue about which one is better. And I think you heard it when I talked to both these drivers at the same time just a little while ago. They both have mutual respect for each other and for their forms of racing. So the argument of who is better will race on for years to come. And I'm just glad we were able to bring Speed Channel here today and show a little bit of that.
I agree with you, Ralph. It's great to see this. I hope we do it every year. It'd be fun to bring a couple of guys from different parts of the sport together and let them trade race cars.
Well, you know, to bring guys from different forms of motorsports together and let them do this here. But when you think about NASCAR Winston Cup and Formula One, it's, as I said earlier, the only resemblance is four wheels and it goes to win. It's neat that the two series can bring the best of their respective series together, and they can do this. A guy from Colombia, South America, a guy from California, and they're having fun and swapping rides.
Two guys could not be more different as individuals, but they share a common interest and a common language. Steve, what are your thoughts?
I think it's been great fun. I think it's been a nice family get-together. The Winston Cup car and the Formula One cruise together, and I've seen the mechanics from both fields swapping over and talking to each other, enjoying themselves, watching each other's technology. It's been a great get-together, and I've enjoyed it very, very much, I have to say.
Once again, we want to thank the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, both teams and their crews and their sponsors for allowing an event like this to happen in this modern age. And once again, I hope we get a chance to do it again sometime soon. Down through the short chute they come. A bit like the Ferrari teammates, Schumacher and Barrichello at this racetrack not too long ago. Once again, be sure to have your tickets for the Brickyard 400, the 10th running, coming up the weekend of August 3rd, and of course, the 4th running of the U.S. Formula One Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway the weekend of September 28th. For our Speed Channel crew, Ralph Shaheen, Steve Matchett, and Larry McReynolds, I'm Bob Varsha. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. For now, so long from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana.